Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Friday afternoon and it is the Fab 4 Live. And as always, I'm joined by Keith Patterson and Neil Mitchell. Stu Penman continues to stand in for the injured Steve Hasty. And injuries is what we're going to start with, lads, because Callum Wilson, as we know, is out. Today we hear that Joe Willock, which we feared was going to be the case, is going to be out until after the international break, and he's going to be joined on the sidelines by Jamal LaSelles, with captain as well. So it started midweek, actually Tuesday on Liam's show. We saw Joe Willock posing for a young fan out and about, and we noticed that he had a boot on his left foot. Steve Bruce confirming today that he's been rather unfortunate, kicked into the ground and caused himself an injury which will keep him out for a couple of weeks. And Jamal Lascelles has an injury as well. So the spine of your team really out. Dubravka, of course, back in training, but probably not going to be available tomorrow. We'll see what he's like for next week. But Keith, it's a little bit doom and gloom, isn't it? And Steve Bruce didn't look too chipper today when he was at the press conference delivering that news.
He didn't, and when a bloke at that level kicks the ground, I mean, it's kind of he did school football, so it's like a freak injury, isn't it? Because often you can kick turf and still not get injured. But it's disappointing. The biggest disappointment for me is Wilson, because I said at the start of the year, when Bruce was telling us we had 6 strikers, and we all know we had 1. That was always the biggest fear. I didn't expect him to get injured as quick. But this week, I saw something from Liam Kennedy where he was saying, who could you put in? Who could you put in this team? And I was thinking, please don't say Shelby, but somebody put something out there which I thought was quite interesting. They were saying about using Longstaff and Almiron in where Willock would be. You know what I mean? Like pushing them one back and one up. For me, the biggest strike is still where we were. I was heartened today actually by when I was listening to Bruce, because it didn't sound as though it was all long term. It didn't sound as though Willock was long term or that Wilson was long term. It sounded like a couple of weeks would see them back. When you look at people like Dummett and that who's out, I don't know what the situations are on them, but we are just now suffering from exactly what this panel said we'd suffer from at the start of the year if we didn't buy players, and we woefully short in attack. And then if you've got Wilson and Willock out of that, it'll be the source of, if you take Wilson's goals out and Willock's in those last 10, 15 games, where the goals come from. So that's the worry. The only heartening thing I'll say is the restructure of Leeds. It started where it looked like we weren't going to do anything, and then when he rejigged the pack, we look as though we were capable of doing it. But I don't think they were a great Leeds side. I don't know what's happened with them this year. But playing Watford tomorrow, you'd always take that fixture somewhere where you've got to get 3 points. And right now, Newcastle, with the points they've got, they need them. So on injuries, I just hope he turns to people like Longstaff, who's got the legs, like Almiron, rather than going some of the normal routes. Like, I don't say name Hendrick come on sheets and things, but I'm worried. I'm worried, but I'm worried more for Wilson getting back quick than young Willock.
Yeah, I mean it's a big blow, Mitch, to lose Willock, as well as Wilson being out. ASM certainly been the talisman in recent weeks, but it's never good, is it?
No, we've gone from this long-standing problem with sort of big soft tissue injuries. This run seems to be freak injuries. It's I'm waiting for Matt Ritchie's out because he stood on a rake or had an unfortunate incident with a box of Lego or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's this strange way the universe seems to kick you when you're down a little bit. Injure your foot kicking the ground. Shelby's injury, even he just went out for a light little jog and did his calf big time. These are strange and unfortunate injuries, but we should have had a squad put together that could cope with that. But our squad management's been so bad over the last 3 years. Is it any wonder that we're scrambling saying, well, who's going to play there and who's going to do that? And they talk today about, we're going to go to a different system and drop the 5 at the back now, go back 4. Equally, though, there's opportunities there for some players who may come in to say, right, drop us. And I'd love to see a player step up to the plate and say, right, drop us. Dare you. You know, put a 9 out of 10 performance in and claim a place in the side long term. Do our squad have that kind of hunger in them? And I think now we're going to find out.
A bit of banter in the chat, obviously, about LaSelles. We know, Stu, that he's somebody who divides opinion. What's your take on LaSelles? Obviously being on the sidelines. I doubt you would like to see a player injured, but I mean, does it give us a chance to maybe give Fernandez a potential run in the team now?
I thought LaSelles had a half-decent game last week. You can see his fitness is getting better. He seemed to be taking more responsibility. So, yeah, you don't want to see him injured, but he's not the biggest loss from the team because there's players in that position. Personally, I would definitely stick with Kieran Clark. I think he's a solid, sound defender. And if he's got, whether it be Shaw or Fernandez next to him, I think he does a job. And I believe that our defence is probably at its strongest with the squad we've got when we have Dummett playing next to Clark. Clark's got the left foot, so I think it's important that he is there. Regarding Willock's injury, you said he kicked the ground. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the diagnosis from Steve Bruce today.
Oh, I just heard that he tripped over the molehill because there's a mole in the players again, isn't it? It's possible, there was the didn't really talk about last week, but what I've since learned is that with the Jones and Gale, they had to be split apart because Jones was asking Gale to put the effort in, and he just shrugged his shoulders. He went, "No, why should I?" And he says, "You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to this club. You're a disgrace to the fans." He went, "So what? I'm getting paid." And that's when he went for him, and LaSelles split them up. So I don't know much more than that, but if that's the attitude, and if that's the attitude he's got, then it is a problem. And we all know about one bad apple, it can spread.
Well, of course. I mean, this has obviously come from a source that you have within the club. I'm not sure whether that's true or not. We can't say that's fact. But from your perspective, Stu, I know you rely heavily on these people, and there's no smoke without fire. We went through this last year, though. We had situations where there was huge fallout within the club. We were led to believe between the long staffs and the manager, and obviously Dwight Gill wasn't getting a look in, so there must have been something going on with him. We know Matt Ritchie and the boss fell out at some point. Graham Jones came in to change things around, and it was even quoted in the Evening Chronicle, I think, at one point that he was brought in to keep the peace, to change things, to help the situation that had developed. So I guess it's all down to man management and who's the best at it. And it appears that Graham Jones is that man, Stu.
Yeah, I agree. I think when Jones come in, we were at the bottom. We've talked about it on this show and other shows when it was Sheffield United away and there was a spate of games there, and Jones has come in and probably give the players confidence, encourage them a bit. But the players, as I understand it, it may not be factually correct, but I believe it is. The players are actually behind Bruce, and it was something that was said on your show on Saturday, that the players don't look like they've given up. I think they believe that Bruce has been dealt a hard or given a hard hand this summer with the budget and stuff like that. And again, it's just my opinion. I don't think he wants to be sacked. I know sometimes the results of the performances may go against that, but he's been doing the job a long time, as he constantly reminds us. And with that, he's got pride. This is his last big job. I can't see another Premier club wanting to take him on. So I think if he does go, it'll be on his terms. So from the outside looking in, it appears to be a bit of a Mexican standoff. Now, with Graham Jones, I know you talked about it again earlier in the week, but it did look like the players respect him, the players listen to him, and he's the one that they take their advice from, so they've got the belief there. So he's in there to do a job, and he's doing it to the best of his ability. But again, you can only do your job with what you've got. And whether the players have got the right attitude or not, sometimes I think the players are escaping a lot of the adverse publicity because it's all been aimed at Bruce or the hierarchy. You know, there is players that aren't putting the effort in. And sometimes they just need to be professional, roll their sleeves up and say, right, we're in this together. We've got this, and together we can get out of it. And I would love to see us tomorrow go on the front foot and show them what we've got rather than sit back and let's see what they've got and be reactive. Let's be a bit proactive and go and force a result. You know, we are Newcastle United. We do have international players. These Watford have just been promoted. Yeah, they're on a bit of a high, but they've been promoted because they were in the previous division. We should be better than them, and if we go out with the right attitude and application, we should get a win tomorrow. But again, just my opinion.
Yeah, okay, good start, lads. As always, we have lots of questions coming in the chat, and keep them coming in. I am going to do a little giveaway, though, courtesy of qtechshop.co.uk. As you'll have seen, we are selling now on the website some customised Fab 4, Toon Tipster, Steve Hasty, you name it, they're all on the Brown Ale bottles, and John has given 3 away today from QTech. So the question is, and this is for people in the chat, get your answer in as soon as you can. Who hit the first shot in the Ryder Cup today?
I know that one. I'm watching
get your answer in, and you will win 3 bottles of brown ale. John will liaise with you and get them out to you. Okay, John Askew got in really early with a question, and it was quite a long one. Afternoon, everyone. Keith, are you still convinced that Ashley still wants to sell to Amanda's consortium? My fear is an alternative buyer is under consideration. He also says, Keith, with so much positivity for our region at stake, how can a tiny number of people at the Premier League have such a negative influence? Surely they can't be allowed to thwart something which is so vital for our area. Is the distrust shown to the Saudi bid significant? Britain usually acts bona fide in dealings, but not in this case. Surely mutual trust is essential. Politically, we are friends with Saudi, but not Russia. But Abramovich is okay for the Premier League, but not Mr. Al-Rahmayan. That's unacceptable. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I'm that old now, mate. I don't remember all the question. I get the gist of what you're saying, and I fully agree that the first part of the question you asked us was, do I think that the club are geared towards selling to the consortium, including Amanda? I think right up until the arbitration was delayed, I think they were the only people at the table. He's answered another question. So,
no, it's the same. It's the same one. I'm just putting it up so that people know what was said.
That's helpful, that, mate. So John, I think they were the only deal in town, and that was felt by them and by the club, and certainly by the fans. Because remember, 97% of us campaigned or voted that this was the takeover we wanted. So I think at that stage it was only them. I think at the stage where there was a joint statement put out by the club and the Premier League, I think there was a bit of concern, and I think there was concern amongst the buyers and probably the sellers that the Premier League would deliberately delay. And I think the general feeling was, could the consortium stay together and keep PIF interested at that stage? Now, the good news of that is we now are at the 29th, this week. So if you like, the fear of the case coming forward is now upon us. So, and then you touch on, is there an alternative bidder? Yes, I believe that has been another party come to the table who's expressed an interest. I believe my fear, because I'm just a fan at the end of the day. I either know something and sometimes can't say, or I don't know something. And as a fan, I don't know who will eventually buy the club, and I don't think any of us for it, because we just know who we'd like to buy the club, and we've all got a good idea who's sitting around there trying to buy the club. But the reality is there comes a time when let's just be negative and say, let's imagine jurisdiction won next week for the Premier League and it was thrown out, which is come with. I've written lots of questions down from the chat today. There's a lot of questions that you ask us to answer. If that was thrown out next week, I think the logic would then come that if the CAT case wasn't going to run and the arbitration was going to be, inverted commas, sometime in 2022, I think that the odds would swing to the EPL more than they are today. And I think if the cap wasn't going to run and they lost the jurisdiction, I could see the club cutting the losses and saying we're going to take the end of the bid. My gut feeling is they've come this far now. I believe that I was on a podcast last night, and I believe that the information keeps coming through more strongly that there is personal reasons why PIF want to see this over the line, and I have great belief in the Saudis that they still want to do this deal, and they don't want to be told off anybody why they can't do the deal. How they do it, in what shape, or if that gets restructured, or with what parties, you'll only find out at the end. And what we do know, the people on this panel tell you, is there's a massive lockdown on information at the moment. Everybody's on NDAs, and ordinary staff at the club are on NDAs. People like coaches who wouldn't normally be involved in takeovers are openly telling us that they're on NDAs, which I understand. I know what they're like. I mean, I've signed one, and what I've signed isn't something you'd want to break. So Amanda told you publicly that she'd signed an NDA when she was questioned on radio. She said, I'm part of an NDA. So it seems as though that NDA has widened. I think that's a good sign, because I think that's what that's saying is we all need to stay calm, keep quiet. Mitch is nodding, he gets it. He's been around the block as far as bids and takeovers and all this goes. And what Mitch said to me once on a message was, when things get locked down and people start talking, usually things are getting closer to the knuckle, and it's probably getting to a position where there's something worth protecting. Whereas when everybody's talking, there's probably not as much going on. So to answer John's question is, I think there was only the consortium involved at the start. I think there has been another party and still could be there. I think there's a possibility of restructuring the deal that's in place. I think that's a possibility that's going on. But as far as the treatment of Saudi goes, I did a discussion last night, and somebody from the region, a legal person, added some clarity to things, and I was questioned about it as to what I think about the way the Premier League have dealt with a major ally's royal family. I think it's abysmal. I think our government's bottled it. I think Boris Johnson's bottled dealing with somebody he calls a cartel. But I think also that we've treated other people differently to what our king, or future king, Prince Charles, and what our queen, Elizabeth, gets treated when she deals abroad. They would never ask them people to be considered as directors of organisation when they're dealing billions of pounds. So I think you're right in that sense, John. It's a massive slur on this country, and I think England, Britain, I think we've acted abhorrently. I think we want to hang our heads in shame how we've treated a powerful bid. And when you look, that bid and that money is good enough to buy the biggest boxing matches in the world, and it's big enough to buy the biggest Grand Prix events. So why is it not big enough to buy a tiny little club in the northeast that people say can't compete? It would be big enough, and they'd be good enough to buy Chelsea, or they'd be good enough or big enough to buy Tottenham Hotspur, but not Newcastle. So I'm with you on all those points, and you'll only find out probably if the cap case runs. You'll then find out what the appetite of the EPL is. And if the cap case runs, I think the consortium with PIF and others come into the frame more.
Yeah, our lead show last night, which Keith is referring to, also had a lawyer on it, a female lawyer called Irina Tuskaman, and she will be joining us on Wednesday night on this channel, along with Keith, to talk about the CAT hearing that we see on Wednesdays. So we will be doing that at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. I'm sure a lot of you will tune in for a little bit more clarification on what the day's developments mean. Mitch, there has been a new face on the block over the last 48 hours on the Newcastle Twitter. Darren is asking who this Simon Zakaria is. I mean, he has been tweeting a lot about the CAT case. Is this somebody who you feel, from your perspective, is in the know? Is he a journalist? What's his part?
Journalist, I think, former Times.
New York Times is, yeah.
New York Times, yeah. I think Keith's come across him before, I think, and he's getting some interesting information from somewhere, and it's not in the northeast, because, like Keith says, a lot of the places that are usually really good for information for us at the minute are just being shut down. Messages being ignored. curt and queer replies as opposed to the normal direct and straightforward ones. So that, as time's ticking, something's happening. Quite what? Nobody seems to know. Even my guy at the Football League, who I talked about quite a lot, he, apart from having to deal with the Derby debacle last week, is still the same slant. There's something happening, but I've got no bloody idea what it is, and I can't get anything out of anyone. But to go back to this journalist, I'd be curious to know where he's getting his information from and who's actually having a bit chat with him. Because
there's something key in what he said, actually. He's actually said something really key. Sakura works for that a news agency called Milex. And
right.
he's been in touch with me for about a year now. So I do speak with him. He's a decent guy. He's a very credible reporter. He's asked me in the past for the documents that we sent to the Premier League. He's asked me for the documents that Premier League sent back. He wanted the 9-page response. He's asked for a lot of documents, but the key documents, he's asking me for stuff. And on every occasion, he'll be able to say, I just said, not a chance. It just won't ever happen. Why would I do that? Why would I jeopardize anything? But he knows what to ask for, which is very important. But this week, there's something he's put online, and Mitch has just touched on it. And I'll just go follow you there, Mitch. What he's asked for, he's put some copy out. And anybody reading that case, he's mentioned something that I've never mentioned before. And you can look at the word that he's put on Twitter, but he's turned around and said there's a key point in there where I think the word he's used is the Premier League are an undertaking of beings. So they're an undertaking. It's a body. What is a Premier League when it more or less is 20 parties, companies coming together and competing? And there's a legal term in competition law, and when they become an undertaking, he's quoted in that copy that by them being classed as an undertaking, it makes the advantage on the club greater than on the Premier League, because there's a competition law which Robert O'Donoghue referred to at the very start, that they were an undertaking, and he said this will swing in the club's favour if they're proven to do any anti-competitive behaviour. For Sakura to come up with that tells me that he's talking to either the club, which I don't think is the case, and it certainly wasn't. On the previous events that we've been discussing him, he's never been involved there. The Premier League, which is a possibility, I think it's quite a high possibility, or he's been talking to a competition QC. He wouldn't get that. He wouldn't get that kind of bulletproof jargon and some of those pertinent points by talking to a non-competition lawyer. So to me, he's either talking to a top QC, which again I doubt, because I don't think he'd study the case without charging substantial fees. So I think his source is the Premier League, and I think that's why he was trying to get me to break my gaff. And if he's talking to Premier League, from what he's written, it looks like a worried camp.
Yeah, Tom Dixon asks...
The Premier League have got a history of leaking, though, and they've got a history of leaking sometimes to serve their own purposes, and they've done it in a number of cases. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, Keith. Sorry, Steve.
No worries. I'm just trying to keep it moving, because obviously from our perspective, we've only got a shorter programme tonight with me working. Tom says, with Willock out, will Bruce play Sean Longstaff or will he go with Jeff Hendricks? Stu, I'll give that one to you.
Sean Longstaff, I believe he's given him a run of games. I think he'll play him. But just regarding the previous question, I want to quickly say that as you know, I work with Saudis and in Saudi quite a lot, and it's as if they've all turned it Road and Keaton. Whether they say it best when they say nothing at all. Nothing's been given away. But what I think is most relevant about it all, because none of us who have always had contacts or information, I think the most important fact of it is there hasn't been any adverse comments this time round. There's been silence, but the normal faces haven't been wheeled out to be anti-takeover. So that's important. So I just thought I'd mention that. But I think with Sean Longstaff, he's coming on. He had a decent game last week, and I think he's now at this stage of his career where he's got to grab the bull by the horns and say, right, I need to start making these games my own. And whether he plays with Hayden in the middle next to him and they play a 4-4-1-1, or even in a 5-3-1-1, in whichever formation they want to play, he'd be playing in the midfield with someone. And because he's played there the last few games, whoever his partner is, he's the one that's been doing it most recently. So he might take the responsibility and say, look, I'm here. And he's come on a bit, show a bit of authority. And, you know, when he gets forward, he's decent. And all he needs is his confidence up there and the belief in his own ability again, because he can score some good goals as well. So if he's got someone like Hayden and he knows he can go with Hayden sitting, I think Longstaff is set up for a very good game tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. He certainly had a good run. He's getting back to the position that he was in, I guess, before that bad injury. But yeah, keep the questions coming in. Got about an hour and 5 minutes to go, so plenty to get through as always. And I think what we'll do is we will stick one of our regular sections up now for you to enjoy. And this is often known as Tweet of the Week, but not many this week, and I got thrown off tack there because the missus, when she's at work, tends to use Alexa to communicate with the family. So just as I was about to come out what I was going to say there, the Alexa goes off with a message from the missus to the kids. Absolutely hilarious. Talk about modern day issues. And I don't want to do Tweet of the Week because I haven't got them loaded, and I've only got about 4 or 5 of them loaded, and I have got a few more. So instead of that, we're going to do something else. See, things do go wrong on UFC matters. Not very often, but they can go wrong. We're all human. Okay, the lookalikes. Wow, you just never ever let us down with these, and we've got some absolute belters. First of all, because Stu had his very first appearance on the show, we've got this sent in, which of course looks like this.
Oh, see it. There's nothing on my screen.
Oh, we can see it, mate.
Oh, brilliant. I see it now.
So there's
That's
you.
Steve Hasty. That was Steve Hasty.
Yeah, and then they said that that looked like you, Stu. So I forget you've got a slate.
Who's that in the middle? Is that Dave Hill out the slate?
I've got no idea who that is. But that is supposed to be Stu Penman. So there we go. That is that was the first one, which as I say, you'll have to forgive us. I don't know who sent that one in. The second one, this one's been done to death, hasn't it? I'm sure we've had this before, but Kev says there's a good resemblance between me and Tim Booth. Not at the moment, it has to be said, but yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Next one was this one from Ian Hull. Doing look like the two Tipster and Graham Lister from Vic Reeves' Big Night Out. You work shy fop. Pretty good that way.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I did like that one. I think this one was a bit weird from Lewis Thomas. I didn't know what on earth this was when I opened it up. He basically though said it's a lookalike for this week, and it's Steve Hasty, and it was originally on Florian Thorvan's Twitter. Why anybody would still be following Florian Thorvan, I'm not sure, but I get the impression it could be. I'm not. My French is terrible. I'm presuming the guy might have died. I don't know, but anyway, if he has, rest in peace. But he did look like Steve Hasty, if that is the case. This one was from Gaza. Lookalikes, Aussie Odd Dealers and Freddie Parrot Face Davies.
Christ.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I can see that. The next one was doing the rounds. I've just screenshotted this one. The police officer who looked like Harry Kane.
He does as well.
He even sounds like.
Yeah, obviously he was doing some kind of protest job down in London, but yeah, somebody went up to him with a video camera and filmed him. This one from 100% Mags. He says, here's a lookalike, lads. Jimmy Bullard's taking up photography after his footballing days. It's the second appearance for Jimmy Bullard on the lookalikes, but yeah, the guy has got a top knot in his hair and does look a little bit like Jimmy Bullard from behind there. So that was a good suggestion. Denny Bin Salman sent us this one. Jacob Rees-Mogg and his son and Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. After seeing the photograph that we shared last week on the show. Albert, I know, I'm sure Keith's paying Albert, I think, each week just to come up with more and more bizarre pictures. He said, Steve Hastie's taking support of Newcastle to a new level. Steve, hope this isn't causing you any pain sitting at home watching this, mate.
No, he's got Jasper Current looking like me to come. Yeah, don't worry, he's getting his own back.
He then said, Dame Steve and Dame Edna. Classic. Gemma Summers, she went, have you ever seen Steve Wraith and this other actor in the same room? I didn't know who the actor was, to be fair, Gemma, but thanks for sending us that. Velibor Topic, someone who apparently looks a little bit like me, except he's from Yugoslavia. So we've added that one in. Starting to come towards the nitty gritty now. Wiley says, Keith Patterson mashup.
He's got the same figure. He's got the same figure.
Same figure after Keith sitting around the pool. Snapped last week. This one was from VRP. Colour Coach sent it in. He says, "Tune lookalike, Mitch keeping busy." There's Mitch on the right.
On the right.
Looking over his laptop. That's the rather nicer one about Mitch. There is a better one later. Mark Bayer says, lookalike for Friday. Oprah Winfrey and Ian Wright.
It's cool, but it's quite close, isn't it?
Brilliant.
It is. You can put the hair on righty, like I could see it, like definitely. This one from Karen, who again must be on Keith's payroll.
That's supposed to be the winner. That's supposed to be the winner. That's a ringer for me. That's a ringer.
We've got a couple of better ones than that, mate.
Van Petrol is Joe Baker.
Don't worry about that. The ones you don't see usually are the ones that win. Rocky. Jasper Curry. Very similar. Very similar. Exactly. I separated at birth. This one from Tom Dixon, Harry Hill, and Keith. Cheers, Tom. Tom's a regular in the chat, of course. He'll be pleased he sees that. This one from Albert Mooney.
Wow, what's going on here?
Mr. Potato and Keith. Again, I can see it. Like, looks shocked. Very, very shocked photograph. This one from Peter G. Jeff Bezos and Keith Patterson.
And an Amazon lookalike.
Amazon lookalike, yeah.
The
inbox was crowded. This one, Ben Willett says, I'm not sure if you'll have seen this, but please tell me I'm not going mad when I said there's a striking resemblance, PC, Zarmi and Keith Patterson.
Jesus God, I'm getting some stick tonight, mind. Bloody hell.
It looks very
AC must be doing this. I don't think AC's bad. I think he's just doing it.
Okay, we've got three more. This is your top three. First one from Mark Lewins. This one was in the paper. Shamima Begum and Bernie Winders.
Jesus.
Now that is frightening.
Is that Bernie? Is that last?
Bernie Winders, the comic. Yeah.
It is, right. Very
It's obviously
similar.
in a newspaper. He sent it in as a cutting from a newspaper. So that is pretty good. Okay, coming in at number 2, Graham Coleman, Mitch Toon lookalike. The non-league guy who got sacked for eating a pie in the
Sacked out the pie in the dugout, aye.
The keeper, wasn't he?
There he was.
Brilliant stuff.
Mitch, big lad.
That was number 2, and it's a pity he's not on to see this, but number 1 had to be this one from Michael Barlow. Great stuff. Photograph of Toon lookalike as a kid, and the guy from Goal.
I tell you.
Brilliant. I love that.
Class.
Absolutely superb. Keep them coming in. Send them to me. Send them to the lads, and we will get them up on screen. That is Toon lookalike first. Always good to get them in, so please keep them coming. And we've got another question for you, Keith. They're coming thick and fast. Kieran says, question for Keith, what are the chances the CAT case will be dismissed due to the opinion of some that the takeover of clubs is strictly down to the Premier League and not to do with outside bodies?
I think, I've wrote 6 questions down the Kieran. That was one of them I wrote down. Kieran, I think what you're touching on there is, do you think it can get thrown out? Because when a Premier League club assumes status as a Premier League team, they form an agreement, we're told, that compels them to sort disputes out. through arbitration, which is more of an in-house matter. That would be similar to working somewhere where you guys are working and you do something wrong. And if you go through, say, an employment matter, they could say all employment disputes are sorted in-house. And I think you can do that at a certain point. I think you can do that at a certain point whereby you say, look, any disputes we sort in-house. We keep it in our own pond. However, you can't do that when the organisation that's running it starts acting illegally. So I don't think that you can use an arbitration card to trump an illegal activity card of anti-competitive behaviour or cartel activity. So I don't think you can do that. But the other thing which you might have missed is that applies to Newcastle United, who is the member of the Premier League. But Newcastle United haven't taken the action on the competition case. And that's the key. The competition case is being taken by a company called St James Parks Holdings, who are not a Premier League team. Now, they will go out the way to argue that it's one and the same benefactor. But in company law in the UK, they are two different companies. So I don't think that particular rule, Kieran, will apply. And I think a competent legal team will dismiss that claim that the club should keep it in-house.
Answer that one as well. What percentage chance?
So I think the CAT case will run. So in other words, you're asking me what percentage chance do I think that the club will win the jurisdiction here? And I would say 90.
Okay, that's pretty high. Geordie Sancaster, well done. You won the 3 bottles of brown ale. John from QTech is in touch with you, I believe. So congratulations, and drink them slowly, mate, and from a schooner. That is my advice to you. But well done, and we will be bringing up the other prize competition from John in a few moments' time. Lots of people talking about the Ryder Cup, and good to see it teeing off. Big weekend of golf, big weekend of boxing as well, which is interesting, and also a big game for Newcastle against Watford. Got to get 3 points this weekend. Back to you then, Mitch. Talked a lot about formation this week, and obviously the much publicised conversation between Richie and Jones and Bruce did the rounds on social media after the game last weekend. We reverted to a back 4. It got us a point. It got us a better performance in the second half. Do you think Bruce is going to have to go to a flat back 4 now? Do you think he's finally going to jack the 3 into the back?
I think, given the injuries we've got, I don't know. I don't know if he's got many other options. And I think, again, in that, it may be an opportunity to play, give some other players an opportunity to say, right, show us what you can do, give us a performance. I think with the players missing, and you think who can come in, does that back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it, look quite the same with different personnel in there? Are you getting the best out of the people that we've got on the pitch? So from my point of view, I don't see why we shouldn't stick with a back 4.
Okay, what are you drinking, Mitch? That seems to be always a popular question. It's been put up 3 or 4 times. You're drinking from a rather large glass.
Hogarden Rosé.
Is that beer?
It's Belgian beer, Hogarden wheat beer, but it's the rosé one, which has got sort of fruits in it as well.
All right, okay, there you go.
Because I'm posh, like.
Satisfies everyone's curiosity. Steve, are you still in touch with Ben Jacobs? Says James. Look, I've not seen or heard from him for a couple of months, I guess, since the last time he was on the show. He's still on my Twitter timeline. We haven't fell out. But no is the answer. He seems to have gone quite quiet on that. And probably because there's other things to talk about, and the takeover has died a death a little bit as far as we were concerned. But again, it'll get ramped up again as we get close to the 29th. So, I'm sure we will be covering a little bit more of it. If there's anything relevant to get Ben on about, then I'm sure we will. But it was always interesting to hear his opinions. I quite like him as a person. And, he answers questions. And good to have him on. He was a good guest. But I hope that answers your question. Doug says, last night, Steve, you and John and Supermax said Cascade is a waste of time and the takeover's dead in the water. Well, didn't quite say that. I just said that for us, that essentially the CAT case is on, it's on a knife edge, and that essentially PCP and Saudis will make a decision, I'm sure, after Wednesday. And that's still my feeling. You know, Keith knows me feelings on that. I've shared the story countless times. I did it on Toon Review this week when Paul kindly invited us onto his channel, and I said, you know, when we were in the car down to the friendly, I felt probably lowest than I've ever felt. And you know, Keith and I speak all the time. You know, we don't always agree. None of us have agreed on certain things this week that have happened, and you know, that's just the way it is. And I think Steve Hasties often said that on the show, where you know, the one unique thing about us, Mitch, I know you'll back us up on this, that you know, we've been mates for years, but we don't always agree on things.
We don't agree. We never fall out, and I think the key is, I mean, I feel like the new bloke in this, and I've spent a lot of times. I've had a lot of calls through this process with Stu Penman. So, and I've done a show with Stu where I just found, you know, like he stopped, I started, and we just bounced off each other. We have great banter and good crack. But when you come to the Matters crowd, I mean, you had this, you know, Three Amigos, which was massive, and you invited me in. And I was nervous, and I thought, God, you know, I'm coming into a group with you three, even though I've known Steve Ace for years. But you never, ever stop somebody having an opinion. You never knock the other person's opinion. You always respect it, and we never walk away falling out. It's always. But I tell you what, there's nothing prescribed before we get on. We don't know what we're going to talk about. It's just four fellas sitting in a pub having banter, and Steve Wraith is just. You're like a catalyst for these people, like this show you're going to do on Wednesday. You just said, see if we can get this girl on, because the fans will want to listen to her for her knowledge. And that's what this has been like. And it's the same when you brought Ben Jacobs on. You know, people felt that he was topical at the time, so you bring him on. Yeah,
nothing's planned. I think that's the one thing that makes this spontaneous. The show is enjoyable because it's not planned, Mitch. We're on about 2 minutes before in the green room before we came on, and I think the first decision was made. We're going to talk about football first, and then we let the punters decide in the chat.
That's the beauty, and I think I don't know how everybody feels, but certainly I feel, and the feeling that I get from you guys is this is why we like doing the live shows, probably sometimes more than the pre-records, because the questions shape what we're talking about. Yeah. And doing it on the hoof and on the fly, it lets me sometimes, you know, exercise a depth of knowledge of things that sometimes you forget you've got. You know, when you get me and Steve digging through some of the stuff that we've done, you know, in the sort of the murky world of the Football League and the Premier League and some of the football finance stuff, sometimes I sit after a show and think, God, I'd forgot about that, and I'd forgot I'd done that, and I forgot I'd looked at that, and it's great that to share that with people, but also to let the questions shape where we go with it. We don't pre-plan a single thing. God, I'm usually the cow's tail joining in the green room last of all, and we just get a chance to share what we know and where we get stuff from, and bring the guys watching into the conversation as well, because sometimes they drop questions in which are fantastic and, you know, push the edge of the conversation a little bit. And I love hearing when people say, oh, it's like, I feel like I want to continue the conversation in the pub with my mates. I feel like I've been in the pub with my mates, because that's what got all through lockdown. If you remember when we started it, that was the whole bloody point. We were all climbing the bloody walls. And so it's sort of evolved out of that, but there's never a degree of pre-planning. And I've said it on the show enough, if you think we all sit cozy on a WhatsApp group sharing the same opinions and everybody's happy and getting along, absolutely not a single chance. Not a single chance. But what we get out of that is synergistic. It's more than the sum of the parts at the end of the day. Once you get to the end, and you know, I've known Stu for years. It's fantastic to bring a good mate into the fold as well, and spread that out a little bit. But certainly, if everybody thinks it's cozy and we always agree on everything, even Stu and I don't agree on every bloody thing. No. So, and so that's the way it should be, though. That's right. You shouldn't all be always in agreement, because that would be bloody boring as well.
Yeah, I mean, Stu, I know you've been a little bit nervous about coming on, but you've been a regular part of the Matters team for a while now, you know, in the sense that we've done, you know, the shows together, you know, the Retro show. And I think, you know, you fitted straight into this. It's just because we're just ordinary guys chatting football, isn't it? We're all pals in some way, shape, or form. We all know each other.
No, exactly. It's things like this. It's to me it mirrors real life before COVID. Like say me and Mitch live abroad. You go to a place you don't know anyone, and then you start talking. You end up like forging friendships and bonds. And we've got some. Me and Mitch have got some really good friends. We've met at a bar in Dubai. I introduced Mitch to that bar, and the first time you went in, you thought, "Well, what the hell you brought me into?" Yeah, it's like the old spit and sawdust. Your feet stick to the carpet and stuff. But it ends up being it's not the place, it's the people. And Mitch is bang on. We do agree most of the time, to be fair, but not all the time. As long as you're respectful. And me and Keith had a disagreement or a different of opinion this week, and he's entitled to that opinion. He said he looked like Bruce Willis, and I just say you're joking, aren't you? But no, there is.
Listen, the top American woman said I did, so just accept it, man.
No, you prompted her, man. You prompted her. So anyway, you can have a bit of banter and a bit of respect, and everyone's entitled to opinion. And I said that to Keith, you're entitled to your opinion, just accept that I'm right. So it's easy done, and I appreciate the fact that I've got friends who watch this, and I got a lot of positive feedback from last week. They said they turned on the Three Amigos Fab Four, and I won't mention the exact words, right, because it's an afternoon show. But it was like, "My goodness gracious, Stuart! I didn't believe that you were going to be on such a show." And it was like, but we're sitting bantering and having a bit of crack on, and as long as people give their opinions, it doesn't matter if what you say is right, as long as you believe it's right, and no one's just making things up just for the sake of making things up. We've all been wrong. Show me someone who tells me they're right all the time, and I'll show you a liar. It's human nature to make mistakes, and as long as you learn from them, that's it. So I appreciate the fact that I've had the opportunity to come on what's probably the big show from the Matters, but I'm comfortable with it because I get on well with you all. So if I was sitting in Dubai and I was doing a show with Mitch, who was there, as soon as the show finished, we would just go back to the bar and carry on drinking and carry on the conversation. So that's the whole idea of it, and it has kept people on this panel. It's kept people sane through what's been a really, really trying and testing time over the last 18 months. And I think it's commendable the three initially, yourself, the two initially, you, Mitch, and then Mr. Hasty joined, and then Keith joined. I think it's been brilliant, and you should never be lambasted for giving your opinion and trying to be, helpful. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But what else are you meant to do? Just sit and say nothing all the time. It defeats the objective of having this on. So yeah, the show itself, to me, it's gathered momentum, and it's now part of like a Geordie institution sort of thing. People will watch it. If they don't watch it live, they'll catch up and watch it. And the comments, I would say 99% of them are respectful and positive, and that's because the guys like you three that do it, you give up your own time and you do your best for the people who are watching. So yeah, I'm sitting here with you now, but next week I'm on holiday, but I'll be watching you, so I won't be joining you. So I'll continue to watch, and I'm grateful for it.
Good stuff. Geordie Sancaster, thanks, mate. He's going to donate £3 to the food bank. I like brown ale, he says, but somebody might need it more than me. Geordie, we'll take you up on that, mate. We do like to support the food bank, as everybody knows on here. So I think that's greatly appreciated. John from QTech, I'm sure, will sort the donation out. And thank you very much for that. Okay, the competition that QTech also run is a weekly one, and you end up with 4 clues. Now, there was 2 tickets for the game against Tottenham Hotspur up for grabs. Your first clue was 126 career goals. Your second clue was Roland. Your third clue was sausages and a scenic picture of the River Tyne and the Tyne Bridge. This week's clue, which should give you an answer, is this. In 1983, the player the clue suggests got married. What was his wife's first name? So, first person to stick that into the chat wins the 2 tickets to the Tottenham game. In 1983, the player, the clue suggests, got married. What was his wife's first name? John from QTech will be keeping an eye on the chat, and the first person to get the correct answer will win those 2 tickets. John, if you can drop us a message on WhatsApp, I will read that out before the end of the show. Also, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Also, a big thank you to Spider VPN. If you have anything wrong with your computer, these are the guys to trust. Google Spider VPN, comes up at the top of your search list. They will help protect your computer and protect your passwords, photographs, and everything on there. Also, thank you to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to John at qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. Thanks also to John at Jab Signature for creating the flyers. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you subscribe for free. Still 7 shows a week, plus a couple of extra ones to boot. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your other social media, and drop into the comments box if you want to post a question or speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Shows are all put up onto our playlists and there for you to watch at your convenience. NUFCmatters.com is the website that John runs for QTech, and he has lots of stuff up there, so please give it a visit. T-shirts, mugs, you name it. Christmas is coming. I'm sure you might know somebody who would like to get a present from QTech and NUFCmatters.com. And Food Bank, NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk. Matchday Bucket is up and running still. Virtually, you can make a deposit into that tomorrow for the Watford game, and still go into the raffle for the watch, the consortium supporters Newcastle watch, which of course will be drawn once the pool competition is announced, and that will be a 24-hour charity pool competition in aid of the Food Bank, run by QTech, and we will look forward to the date being revealed once John is out and about after he recovers from COVID. Just a quick shout out for the events we've got coming up as well. An evening with Gavin Peacock, Friday the 29th of October. Tickets £15 at the Tyneside Irish Centre. And we've also got the Christmas do, with all proceeds going to the Food Bank with Supermac and Gibbo on the 19th of November. And we've got an evening with Peter Beardsley as well, which is on the 26th of November. All events are at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and tickets are available from newcastlelegends.com. Just click shop and you can find the tickets on sale there. Okay, next section tonight, as I said, it was earlier, but it's Tweet of the Week. Tweet of the Week, where we pick out our best tweets on the timeline, and this one was quite relevant because on the show on Tuesday, we tend to get asked what our favourite things are, me and Liam. It just seems to turn into that, and it's happened over the last couple of weeks. And Marmite beer was mentioned, and I did stumble across this Camden Town Brewery Marmite beer. Yes, really, it's brewed with Marmite. You might love it and you might hate it. Try our lovely love-hate Marmite ale now. Anybody had that?
Nope. No.
Do you think you'd like it, Mitch?
I'd give it a go.
Give it a go, yeah. It's looks interesting. Looks interesting.
I'd give it a go.
We might ship some over to you anyway, but worth a laugh. This girl on Twitter does make me laugh. Claire posted this. Yeah, if you had to look twice, this is why we're friends. It's, of course, a cat putting its paws on Claire's mouth. But I did happen to laugh at that this week. Funny tweet. Gav McElroy, cheers QTech. It arrived today. It's my birthday today. Following the past week's developments, I think there will be many a brown ale had later. Nice to have you sharing that picture, Gav, so thanks for that. Steve Wilkinson, of course, from the Retro Show, gets on Tweet of the Week this week. Thanks, Sky Sports, for placing a camera in front of the East Stand disabled fans at St James's Park. First time in nearly 30 years of EPL. Clearly, you and the club don't give a toss. So, not the greatest view for Steve Wilkinson the other night. and he obviously put it out into the public domain. Mark Roos posted this one. I'm not sure how old it is or who these guys are, but certainly interesting and caused a bit of debate on Twitter this week. I can assure you that's got nothing to do with the takeover. This one from Zara. Pippa Carrera at the bottom said, the government has urged people not to panic buy. I wonder what will happen. Lee Robson chipped in with, we've been there and done that. And Newcastle signed Joe Linton from Hoffenheim in a £40 million club record deal. This one did make us laugh from Pilco. I'm committed to this football club. I grew up on a council estate in Liverpool. I know how tough life can be. What kind of person would I be if I went and laid on a beach for a few weeks? That's Wayne Rooney who said that. And then down below we've got Steve Bruce. Not the most flattering photograph, it has to be said, of Steve Bruce on a sun lounger, but there we go. This one from Golazzo, new top 11 expansion pack downloaded. It's called Ticking Over Mode, which allows you to let the assistant coach run the training and tactics. That is Top 11 2021 by your manager. Very funny, that one. This one, obviously from toonarmy.com. What a sight. Martin Dubravka started like training outdoors for the first time today. Can't wait to have him back in the side. I'm sure that's a sentiment we all agree with. Gianfranco Shola, coming soon. Newcastle United Twitter, a 12-part documentary on Netflix. I did find that funny, Gianfranco. Yeah, after all the carry-on we've had this week. Certainly funny. Darren Curry says, watching West Ham tonight in Zagreb, remembering being over there when we qualified for the Champions League. Great trip. Bit aggro, but great trip. Now I'm making paper planes and looking for a whistle because we have no chance of European football under this mob. I think that sums it up perfectly where we're actually at this moment in time. And last one, this one was hilarious from Ian. Imagine having a player called Mambo and not giving him the number 5. Yeah, fantastic. That I did like that. That completes tweet of the week for this week. Yeah, a lot of people asking if I'm going live with Decker Heggie tonight. No, it's going to be Monday at 8 o'clock. I've got to go out and work, and sorry that your entertainment for this weekend has been ruined, but I've got to work, unfortunately. Okay, we're looking ahead now to the match at the weekend, and of course Newcastle travel to Watford. 2 away games back to back. Wolves coming next. But let's first hear what Toon Stato's got to say.
Good evening, lads. First game in London for the season. Actually, the record last season in London was more than decent. 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 defeats. However, this time we play Watford, and Newcastle doesn't have a win at Vicarage Road in the Premier League years. It's the balance is 3 draws and 3 defeats. And the strange thing is that in every game Newcastle score exactly 1 goal. We have 3 1-1 draws and 3 2-1 defeats. For Watford, Newcastle actually is the favourite opposition in the Premier League. Out of 12 games, they have 5 wins, 4 draws and only 3 defeats 0-0, which makes it 19 points against Newcastle in the Premier League, and they haven't collected more points against any other opposition. When it comes to the Newcastle's defense, Newcastle is the team who has conceded most shots this season in the Premier League, 93. So this tells you a lot about the defense. What else can I say about the game? From a statistical point of view, it's very interesting that for the first time in the history of the Premier League, a referee from overseas will referee the game. It's Jared Gillett from Australia, which makes it sort of a unique game for all the fans in England. Let's see what Saturday will bring us.
Okay, fantastic stuff as always from Toon Stato. What's your thoughts then, lads, going into this game? Keith, we'll start with you.
Well, when I listened to him there, it was quite sobering because I didn't realise we were Watford's favourite team to play. So it's it's not what you want to see, because I mean, when you look, I said earlier in the show that when you're playing against someone like Watford, you expect to pick up 3 points. You know what I mean? They've just come up. They're not a good side, but truth is neither are we. So what do I think? I just along the lines of what Stuart Penman said earlier, that you know, it's a no-brainer that you'd put a long staff in before a Hendrick, and if you know, if he goes that way, you know, the pace of Almiron and some of the people, you've just got to hope that there's enough football in Newcastle side. You know, I think we are thin on the ground, but I do think we've got enough to beat these. And for me, I think the fixture, I think the points level we've got, everything. If you know, Watford have got a few points on the board, a lot more than us, but I think we'll win tomorrow. I think it'll be 2-1. I don't know where the goals are. If someone said to me, "Who'll score the goals?" I haven't got a clue. In fact, if I was picking someone tomorrow, I'd probably pick Longstaff, you know, to have an effort from range. But it's a difficult time. We are now suffering from not getting those strikers in and not being able to say, well, Rondon will play tomorrow, you know, or not, you know, that kind of thing. And we all just fans at the end of the day. We all potential managers, because we all think we know how to pick the team better and coach it better than anybody else. But the reality is to a man, we all said, somebody told us we had 6 strikers to start the season. We all said we had 1. That one's got injured. We knackered. So you know, if we came away from Watford tomorrow 1-1, you wouldn't be too disappointed, because you'd be waiting to get the players back. But I think ASM's got more off than anybody on that Watford team. And I think he's capable of causing mayhem. And I think you've got the likes of Longstaff and people like that following him behind. And I just hope that when, you know, I just hope that we've got a committed team with snapping ankles and running and grafting. But I think we'll win 2-1, and I think ASM will run them ragged.
Okay, what about you, Mitch? It's when you listen to Andre, you know, you can't fudge the stats. Newcastle have a poor record down there.
Yeah, we do, but records like that are meant to be broken, aren't they? We're usually the side that sorts things out for other teams. You know, your striker hasn't scored in 7. Oh, you're playing us this week, that'll be fine. Not one away from home in 5. Oh, come to St James's Park, you'll get 3 points. But these runs are always meant to be broken. I'd love to see Andrea come on stroking a white cat mine. I think you'd make a great Bond villain, but that's another matter. I think I've said it at the start. I want to see our players show desire, and if that's the desire to keep their place in the team because they've got in, or if it's the desire, if they are behind the manager now, to back the manager up with a performance. Excuse me. I worry about the formation, and I worry about who's going to play away, just simply because Bruce doesn't seem to be that tactically away. He seems to flip-flop from deciding it's all about the players to it's all about the formation and back again. And hopefully Jones has that kind of influence, hopefully, on things like that. I would take a draw myself away from home in poor form. I think I'd always take a draw away from home. I just want to see some desire and some spark on the pitch, because that's what we need. We need to see a response of some description.
Yeah. Well, Stu, it's a response we need, and obviously we talked at the top of the programme about injuries, but yeah, I mean, we need to see something tomorrow, don't we? We need a chink of light, really, to get us away from that bottom part of the table.
Yeah, I think we'd also need to get away from the blame factor and have a bit of siege mentality, because I know from personal experience from previous managers and coaches that the preparation for a game isn't just like the day before. It's meticulous and it's pre-planned all week. Now, whether this regime's doing the same thing is open to debate, but Steve Bruce hinted something like that after when he was questioned about his holiday at the Man United game. He said they've been working hard all week. So if we look at the two players out, it shouldn't really affect us because they would have known LaSelles was out. And Willock got injured earlier in the week, didn't he? So they must have had at least 3 or 4 days to plan what formation they're going to play, what the personnel are, or at least 9 of 10 of the 11. And say, right, this is what we're going to do. The biggest concern I believe we've got is the over-reliance on ASM. You know, and it's very easy because he is such a talent when he's on his game is to just pass him the ball and just give it to him, and that's plan A and plan B and plan C. But what happens if he doesn't fancy it? What happens if he's not on his game, like at Aston Villa away? You know, and it's just, and then it's like we don't have the plan B. So it's an opportunity tomorrow for other people. Mitch, are you opening crisps or something?
He's doing origami.
Opening a new vape, mate.
You can see you were well locked into that one.
I was trying my best as well there. So it's hopefully some other will grasp the nettle and say, right, let's not just rely on ESM. And we mentioned about Sean Longstaff, and I really do hope he has a good game. He's capable of it, and let's hope this run of games that he's been crying out for has done him the world of good, and his confidence is up there. Miggy's due a goal. I was actually going to back Willock to score first because I think he had a chance last week that he scuffed, and normally it works that way. You miss an easy one, then you put a good one away. But I'll have to save him for next week for first goal.
Joe Walker thinks Mitch is wrapping presents. Jeff says Mitch is strangling a frog.
I won't tell you what I thought he was doing. That's for sure.
It sounded like he was unwrapping one of Tino's condoms.
Adjusting me budgie smugglers.
Adjusting your budgie smugglers. See, now this could be a brand new game, the sound game. Yeah, we might do that. Let's see. Winner of the Spurs tickets. Congratulations to Barry Hogan. I'm sure I've said that before on this show. Lorna was the name of I think it was Chris Waddle's wife, if I remember rightly. Yeah. The sausages probably gave that away, but yes, Lorna was the answer. As always, we have Toon Tipster to give you your predictions for the weekend, and as always, we'll tell you to bet safely. But here we go.
Evening all. There's been a lot of sensitive people around this week in NUFC land, but I tell you something, none of them know that they've been born when you think about the level of trolling that I've had over this week. I've had it from old Keith, from Holly, I've even had our mate Al Waleed translating slurs into Arabic for other people's amusement. I tell you what though, don't worry, I'm writing all these down in me notebook and I'm going to hand it to Steve Wraith for safekeeping. What could possibly go wrong? Anyway, it's Holly that I'm most disappointed in. I thought me and her were mates. I've even been to the shop tonight to buy her a present. She absolutely loves this stuff. Can't get enough of it. She's an animal. I've had a bloke called Q-Tip or something posting baby photos of me all over the internet. Good job I was a beautiful little thing, isn't it, man? I told you all he was a bit odd, that fella. He even dresses up in his spare time like a pigeon these days, I've heard. All of that, though, paved into insignificance when the big news finally broke. All week we've known that something was going on. We've had secret journeys, need-to-know phone calls, cryptic late-night text messages. We've even had tweets that if you join the dots, all led to the answer. And then it broke. It was going to be some absolute unknown by the name of Penman who was coming in to replace the injured Steve Hasty. I'd been told by the gaffer, "You've got a bright future, son. You can step in if we need you." Yeah, and he chooses to go for another baldy fella who talks nout but absolute nonsense. I mean, really, Mitch, do we really need another one of them in this team? Unbelievable. I feel like Dwight Gale. I tell you what though, I've never let anyone down. I've never fluffed me lines. You did edit that out last week, didn't you, Stevie? Thanks, mate. I brought 2 additional viewers to the channel, our mum and our dad, and this is how I get repaid. Unbelievable. So I'm announcing tonight that I've had enough. I'm going to go full time on the Ben and Joey show. Mind you, he's been a bit quiet these last couple of weeks, old Ben. Wonder what that's about. Anyway, for the last time then, here we go for some prices as the Mags return to Vicarage Road to take on Watford. We are, of course, second favourites. Watford are 5-4. The draws coming in at 12-5. And the Mags are 9-4. It's the second week in a row that the odds are positive, so there is money to be made again if you can guess the right result. The draws coming in at... Oh, sorry, I'm looking at last week's script. My mate Andre, he's been all right this week. He said it's likely that there's going to be goals. So both teams to score is 4.5. And the over 2.5 goals, my favourite, is coming in at evens. Goal scorer odds remain pretty much the same as ever. Dwight Gale's favourite again for us. Not that he'll get a game, of course. Bruce will probably play some baldy fella who talks nonsense. Might as well put Steve Agnew up front. We've got to go down to 12-5 to Gale before we get to our usual 3-1 squad of Almiron, Joe and ASM. Josh King, who'll no doubt score against us, he's 11-5. And our old mate Musa Sissoko is 13-2. Comparisons, if you fancy going on the correct score line. 2-0 Watford, 11-1, whereas we're 18. 2-1, 9-1, where we're 12-1. And if you're the kind of idiot who puts money every week on 3-1 Newcastle, you can get 28-1. If you fancy Joe Willock to score first in that, you can have 125-1. Not bad, Mr. Penman. For the food bank, ASM scored against Leeds last week, so we're up to £40.50, which I'm pretty pleased about this early in the season. And this week, the money's on him at 7-2. In terms of the Toon Tickle, everybody let me down last week, surprisingly. So I thought I'd better get the lower leagues in case Bruce decides to stay. So, Grimsby, Bromley, Dagenham and Redbridge, Chesterfield, Boreham Wood and Notts County at 48-1. Don't forget there's a massive fight on this weekend. So if I was you, I'd put your mortgage on Decker Heggie to knock him out. Joshua's favourite at 4-11 with Usyk at 9-4. Joshua knockout is just under evens with Usyk at 7-1. And the draw is 20-1 if you think Eddie Hearn will do some more avoiding of Tyson Fury. Bet safely, everybody. Love yous. Ta-ra.
Great stuff, as always, from Joey. That he actually cut his video down. Can you believe it? I mean, we're almost half a show taken over now by the Toon Tipster.
Steve, just that there, I was at Graft the other day, and I come in, I put Twitter on my phone, and I seen this headline saying, "We want Penman sacked." It was like a hashtag, "We want Penman sacked." And I thought, has my staff decided to join the NUFC Twitter or something? And then I looked at it, and I thought, hey, me wonder he speaks funny, you know what I mean? The Burrell smoggy. And I thought, then I realised it was Joe, right? And I thought, well, he's got a good sense of humour. You've got to give him that. Well, you can tell by the clothes he wears, he's got a good sense of humour. So I just thought it was funny that he was badgering us on the, not badger is the wrong word to say, but he was DMing us, are you going to have the 3-1? I said, I'll always do the 3-1 anyway. But I've just got a feeling that Willock will play tomorrow. I know we've said different. I've got to think it's a bit of kidology, and Willock will be there tomorrow and he'll play. So let's see what happens. It
Interesting.
could be maybe he's just done a little ruse. He's learning the game after being a manager for 20 odd years.
Yeah, as the Toon Sipster says, please bet responsibly. Don't go chasing the ace and go and chasing your losses. Bet responsibly. Okay, I know that we're only got 15 minutes left. We've got a couple of things to get through. We have. Thanks as always for sending in us your photographs of you with former Newcastle United players and managers. We have quite a lot to get through. A big thanks to the Mags. He met Gaza. He said this was the day after he lost his father. Such a great bloke and an England legend. So thanks for sending that in. This is from Val Taylor. She sent a couple in of her and Sir John Hall and of Steve Harper. Thank you, Val, for sending those photographs in. Nigel Adams. Wow, you've met a few, and I get the impression you met most of them at my events, to be honest, at Pavel Cup and a couple others, but we'll whiz through them. Nigel with Steve Howie and Olivia Bernard. Also, Steve Harper making his second appearance of the week this week. Peter Ramage with his Newcastle Legends top on there, so definitely the Pavel Cup. Watto, Steve Watson, and regular viewer of the show, Peter Beardsley with Nigel. Lee Clark, I'm pretty sure that was at Lee's book launch at 9. And one that wasn't at our event, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright with Nigel in the middle. So Nigel, thanks for sharing those pictures. Please keep them coming in. If you've met any famous Newcastle United players or managers, then get them in and we'll give them a spin on the show. All right, Keith. Let's talk about your lineup tomorrow. What would you go for? You know, you've heard the injuries. Would you go for a flat back four? And you know, what's your starting lineup?
I think with LaSelles out, I think I would go flat back four tomorrow. I think to be truthful, if I was in charge of that team, I would get Bruce to take a back seat just for tomorrow, and I would let Graham Jones build a team up. I would certainly I'd keep Hendrick a million mile away from it. I would put the flat back four in, and I'd play the likes of Almiron, Longstaff. I'd be game to play youngs, mate. I'd be game to put some. We're playing Watford away. I mean, these are just an average team, and I wouldn't put Dwight Gale near it. You know, the what Stu about the training ground. I hear the same kind of rumours, and you just think he's just not. And when he plays, and when we were with our friendly Steve down in Yorkshire, he was not interested. He's got the heart of a pea at the minute. So I'd go with Longstaff rather than anything, and I would put Almeida on, and I think Liam Kenny's got a point. I think Joe Linton does look as though he wants to work, so I'd use the likes of him on, but I don't know. It just looks like a nothing team. Like for two loan signings, we could have had a better side than what we've got out now. But I just, I've got tickets for Wolves, and I just look at it and just think to myself, what are we going to do? What's this side going to do? And the only thing you can hope for is you just hope for a bit of ASM, bit of magic, and you hope that one of the players like a Murphy or an Almiron or a Longstaff creates something out of nothing. But as long as you've got Hayden and the likes in, I think you've got some steel in there. And I think, I think Longstaff leaves a leg in. So I think Hayden and Longstaff in the middle will do a job. I think we've definitely got enough pace with Miggy and with St. Maxim to cause trouble. I think Murphy gives us creativity. I don't think I've been a big fan of when LaSelles. I think LaSelles had some funny games lately. I think he's had some iffy matches. So I don't think he's ever got back to what he was. If you know where I'm coming from. So I think all you can do is go with the four fittest defenders, and then pack the midfield out with people with legs like Hayden, like Longstaff and others. But I think it'll just be, if ASM doesn't create some magic, I think we'll struggle away to Watford. I'm disillusioned by it.
Steve Bruce has been talking them up again as well, which hasn't gone down well with
the fans.
I know,
I'm saying it like it's like, I'm not being funny. They said Keegan never ever talked anybody up, and they said like Alex Ferguson had a policy and never ever talked people up. Said Shankly wouldn't even talk about the other team. So when you hear people that's been top managers, it's not like a done trend to bull people up. When you talk about the team just being promoted like Watford, why would you talk them up? Where's the benefit of that? Do you know what I mean? We could put Joe Walker up front because he's not doing much on this show.
Mitch Tomlin's team: Joe Linton, St. Maximin, Longstaff, Almiron, Gale, Hendrick, Woodman, Hayden, Fernandez, Shaw, and Darlow. So he's put that back to front. So Darlow, Shaw, Fernandez, Hayden, Woodman, Hendrick, Gale, Almiron. He's playing all the goalkeepers. You can't mean Woodman.
No, I mean, I
think it's because it's Bruce's team. We've missed his humour there.
Could be.
Joe Linton in goal. Maximin, Longstaff, Almiron and Gale four at the back.
Defenders.
Hendrick, Woodman and Hayden.
Yeah.
Fernandez,
everyone out of position.
Shaw and Darlow up front.
Yes. It's the Bruce randomizer, isn't it? It's the Bruce randomizer. I'd go really super simple. Go 4-4-2. Make sure everybody knows what their role is and keep it simple. You can overcomplicate it
Joe Walker again.
In that, I think I'd bring Lewis back in. He's a proper left back. Matt Ritchie isn't a left back, and using him as a left back in a fat back four, I think, exposes weaknesses in his game. I think I'd have Murphy in on the right wing in tandem with Mankillo on the right, and then find a way to bring. I'd bring Miggy inside alongside Hayden. I wouldn't have Longstaff in, and I would have St. Maximin free roaming off of with Joe Linton, because I think that's pretty much all we've got to go there. I think we sometimes overcomplicate it, and I think we need work rate and we need simplicity, and we've got a chance to get some out of it because there's pace in there to exploit gaps and getting people into the right positions. But I'd be disappointed if he sticks with a back three, given the situation we've got with injuries and things like that.
Okay, Stu, what's your take tomorrow?
I think you'll go 4-4-1-1. Darlow in goal, Mankillo and at right back, and I think he'll play Lewis at left back because of the pace of this. I think he'll use him to negate him, and then play Ritchie further forward because he can cross the ball and he can pick a pass out. And I think for games like this, his input is imperative. To keep rallying the troops, etc. In the middle, I'd have Hayden and Longstaff, and on the right, I'd either have Willock, who I think will play, or Miggy. And the other one I would have playing off ASM. And what I'd like to try is have Miggy playing off ASM because he's got pace to burn and he spends a lot of his energy chasing back, doing other people's jobs. Whereas if Willock's sitting there, Mankillo is more than capable of defending. He's proved that. And if Willock does go forward, then they can swap over. But they do need to have more potency in up front. So, yeah, I would play with Miggy off ESM, have Willock floating around, and have Hayden, Longstaff, and Richie sitting in as a 3. So play it that way. That's my team.
Okay, prediction from you, Keith?
2-1 to Newcastle. As long as he doesn't put Hendrick in. Like when I listen to Mitch talk about it, it sounded like a better side than I was talking about. It's the same players. but when you think about it, if he puts a strong defence in, and maybe he's like the Stuart says, puts Lewis in, you should have enough to contain these because they're not a great side. And then if you've got a middle of Hayden's and Longstaffs, I think you should have enough. But ESM hasn't got an equal on that pitch, so I'm counting a goal to him straight away. And I think the rest of the match will be 1-1. So I think 2-1 to Newcastle, but I think we might go a goal down.
Okay, interesting. Mitch?
I'll go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 from Mitch and Stu.
I agree with Bruce Willis upstairs there. If we support ASM and get more players forward, I think we'll. I think we'll win. Well, I've had my 3-1 bet, but I can see us winning 2-0. I think we can keep a clean sheet tomorrow.
I've gone for 1-0. That was my prediction last night on the Gibbo and Supermax show. So we will watch with interest. Congratulations to David Gibson. He has the winning bid for the food bank this week on T-shirt. Congratulations, mate. John from QTech will be in touch. I have copied you in, and we're still no closer to finding out who the Gallagher pigeon is. And as Julie has arrived in late from work and is going to be playing catch up, I think because she's in the chat, she might just see this. Quite a few options this week, but not the one you would expect, I don't think, those of you who follow us on Twitter. This one was from Facebook. What a lovely lad. Thanks, Stephen. You're such a dirty child rapist and gay nonce. Yeah, Stephen Clark. Pot calling kettle, perhaps. Interesting profile, mate. Thanks very much for your message, and I hope you have a great week in your bedroom. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I get, folks, on a weekly basis from weird accounts. It does get worse, believe you me. But yeah, what can you do? Facebook and Twitter will never, ever clamp down on this. And I'm not opening this up to the chaps. I just want to say that I'm fine, guys. I don't have an issue with it. But I see some people really struggling. And when you see a fellow Newcastle fan, like we saw this week, contemplating taking his own life on the timeline, and you saw one of the trolls who constantly baits everybody on NUFC matters say, just take your own life. I think that tells you where we're going with social media. And until these things change, there is going to be something happening to somebody, and it's not going to be pretty. And I just fear for people out there. But all I will say to you is, if you get stuff like that, report it and move on. Block people, move on. It's the best advice I can give you. And if you're feeling down and you're feeling desperate and you're struggling with your mental health because of people like the ones who have appeared on our timeline over the last 15 months, pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Ring somebody. Doesn't matter whether it's your mum, your dad, one of your best friends, whoever it is, a friend at work. Pick the phone up. You're not alone. Just understand that these people are just simply getting pleasure out of berating you on a screen. Not everyone's as strong as me. I appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to just donate the last couple of minutes of the programme to that. So please, 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 I know I have a laugh at it, but it's always good to talk. So problem shared is a problem halved. Do not sit alone worried about these things and thinking that everybody hates you, because they don't. Everybody's equal on this planet. Everybody out there has got a purpose of being on this planet. And if you see somebody struggling, please reach out to them, because it's not nice. It's not nice at all. And these people need locked up, really. But that's not going to happen at the moment. But keep reporting. And the good thing is, I've heard 2 people this week have gone to the police over some of the trolling and some of those trolls that have been on our timeline in the last couple of days. and have been constantly at me and the likes of Keith, etc., for the last 15 months. So somebody has now gone to the police. So let's hopefully see some action from the police and the authorities and getting these people put away, or certainly arrested, and a bit of community service. But I just want to thank Keith. I want to thank Mitch. I want to thank Stu. I want to thank you in the chat, as always, for making the show what it is. Have an absolutely great weekend, and let's hope we've got 3 points. We'll be back next week. Take care, lads.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.